Welcome, everybody. It is January 24th, 2024. This is episode 64 of Business on the Block, your weekly insight into the digital media revolution. This week on the pod, how the internet is redefining entertainment. What do Mr. Beast, Netflix, and Dogecoin have in common? They are redefining entertainment. We're going to tackle three main topics today with a couple of extras. Elon makes a cryptic move with X that has Dogecoin fans very excited. We'll tell you what he's up to and how this could change digital media. And also, Mr. Beast on Amazon Prime. $100 million thinks this is a great idea. And finally, Netflix is shaking things up with a $5 billion bet, that's B, on the WWE World Wrestling. We'll tell you why Monday Night Raw is about to body slam live streaming. We're going to get into that this week. We'll dissect these stories and tell you what's going to happen in the world of entertainment in the age of blockchain. I am joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Michelle Peterson-Clark.
Good evening, everyone.
And Mike Neubauer.
How's it going?
All right, so story number one. This is coming to us courtesy of Finance Yahoo. Dogecoin speculation mounts around potential X payment integration. The quick on this one is X has launched an @X Payments account on X, which is Twitter, with no details, right? So there's speculation that Doge will be integrated for payments on the X platform. Musk has previously suggested that X Payments would launch in 24. X has applied for payment processing licenses in multiple U.S. states starting last year and continuing this. So it's looking like they're cooking up something here. We're going to get some thoughts on this. Michelle, I'd love to start with you as the content marketing queen. What do you think about what's going on with Elon and X?
Who wouldn't love to launch an X Twitter account and not say anything and get 106 followers in a couple of hours? Like,
amazing. Yeah, so X Payments.
I know, pretty cool, hey? Yeah.
No one knows what this is. What do you think?
Well, we know that Elon has previously supported Dogecoin back in, was it 2022, when he put the dog picture on as his profile pic, and like it went to 90 cents or something, which was absolutely insane. We could have been gasquillionaires if only we'd held our Doge from like 0.00001.
There's a theory right now that he has 36 billion tokens of Doge.
Well, there you go. So he did that. So he, this was before he owned X, Twitter, and he used to like throwing grenades around, didn't he? Before he actually purchased. So, I mean, he's probably throwing more grenades after he purchased, but he used to do that. And so he's always supported it. You were able to buy Tesla merchandise with Dogecoin at one point. So it's clearly, Elon and the Doge have got a thing going between each other. So it would be natural that you would think, well, okay, if he's going to introduce payments of some kind, whether it be, the traditional MasterCard, Amex, Visa, etc., he might have crypto, probably likely to have some type of crypto payment, and Doge would be one of them. I doubt very much if that would be the only way in which we pay, in which you would be able to pay, unless, as you say, he wants to offload his 36 billion Dogecoins.
Mike, we know you're an Elon fan. So what do you think about this? Is this something he's cooking up, or is this just fluff?
No, I mean, obviously they started the account, right? So they didn't just start that because, maybe they just wanted to be in headlines once again. And if that's the case, goal achieved. But the transaction component is nothing new to Twitter, especially when it comes around crypto. I just feel like, there's a lot of integration between crypto and credit cards now that, you can use platforms like Crossmint, NFT Pay. There's a few different pieces of that puzzle that allow you to, pay through credit card, but yet still have the on-chain experience within your digital wallet. So is there a deal brewing that potentially could bridge those? If that's the case, then the standard transactions may or may not be as relevant. Is this going to be specific to Dogecoin? I don't believe so. Again, it's not as simple as, turning your ETH or your Bitcoin into these cryptocurrencies. So I think there's still very much an onboarding process that needs to occur with people getting their hands on Doge in order to, create a Costco environment where, you literally are only able to use one particular card.
Do you think I feel like it could just be as simple as Elon would want it to be, right? In other words, you say it's not that simple, Mike, but I think if anyone's going to make it that simple, it would be Elon Musk.
But I don't think that what he can do is eligible to make it simple, short of him becoming a Doge bank, where he would take fiat currency and then exchange it for Dogecoin. And basically, it's like Disneyland dollars, right? Like, you go into the park, you give them $20 US and they give you, $50, $60 in Mickey Mouse, coins that can only be used in the park. These potentially could only be used on Twitter. Obviously with crypto, you can, see external transaction platforms that will accept that coin as well. There's also liquidity pools, so you can cash that coin out if it's linked to a particular exchange. But look, I mean, do I put it past him to try to figure out a solution? Absolutely not. I think he's definitely going to move in that direction. I think he'd be foolish if he cornered the market of this payment portal into Doge and left it there without any other coins available.
All right, here's my thoughts on the matter.
He's no way he's doing that. Yeah.
Number one, he's $44 billion in the hole to pay for that platform. Let's start with that. Secondly, Dogecoin's at 7 cents, which is roughly, it's not, it's a nothing crypto at the moment. However, this guy lost $75 million in advertising when half his advertisers left Twitter/X. You remember this? He needs to figure out a way to make money that's not based on advertising. This is it. It also ties directly into what he already did with PayPal, which I would argue, Mike, he already wholesale reinvented banking once. So, and that wasn't with crypto. That was just moving it onto the internet. So I really feel like you're right. He would have to make it a whole bank thing. I'm not going to put this past him. This guy's landing rockets on other planets that would run on methane so they can get back here. Like, that's this guy's thinking process. So
again, I don't put it past him. I mean, I just feel like the path to that type of victory is much more difficult, especially when you're using, a chain that already exists, building out that infrastructure on a chain that now people have to figure out how to onboard their own.
I don't think they're going to have to. I'm thinking Elon's going to do a little, X.com back in the early days, kind of what WeChat, where you just plug in and he will take care of all the messiness on the back end. Now, how does that happen?
Is that Web3 then?
No.
Yeah, it's not custodial then, is it?
No one, he's not arguing for Web3 though.
It's custodial.
Well, then why have a Dogecoin? Why not just create a phantom token in a Web2 format and sell that like our friends at the other platform did?
That might be what he's doing. It might be legit Doge. I don't know. But my point is, I actually expect the unexpected is my point. It's not going to be something we're talking about here.
So let's take it one step further. We're patting the guy on the back for innovation. I mean, could this be that onboarding solution that we were looking for in bringing people?
If someone's going to do it, it's going to be somebody like this guy. And I don't want to be a fanboy. Like, I know he's a very controversial figure, but nobody can approach the fact that he's innovative, right? A lot of people don't like Steve Jobs, but those products are amazing.
Yeah. I think Mike's internet's dropped.
I like Mike better this way, frankly.
Yeah. I think, there he is. He's back. You're back.
Mike, I was just commenting that I liked you better that way. I think that
he was having a rest. Did you see that? Leaning back on his chair.
I'm not saying
just waiting for my system to come back.
I feel like Musk is he's controversial, Mike, but you can't argue that he's an innovative genius. And so if someone does come up with this onboarding crypto wallet solution, it's going to be a guy like him. I'd like to think this will be it, and probably isn't, but it's going to be something that opens a door to that.
That was the point I made before I turned into Mr. Freeze. This could be that onboarding process that we were waiting for.
That'd be nice to see that. Michelle, what do you think? You were going to say something before.
I was going to say that I think, from a marketing perspective, since I'm the content marketing queen, I guess I should think about this from a marketing perspective. Don't know too many higher profile, and you would have to say that X creating a new account on itself has a high profile. Don't know too many accounts that join, create the account, and then actually say nothing. So from that point of view, as we said before, he's got everybody talking about it before he's actually even said anything. So what's going to happen now is that people are just hanging on and hanging out, waiting to see what the next thing will be. And then that's the next jump. So either it's going to be a piecemeal thing where they give a little bit of information and a little bit of information, or sometime, in the next week or two, they go bang and it's all there and it's all done and people go absolutely nuts over it.
I'm going to open up another angle on this, just coming from my Wall Street background. Right now, all of professional finance has moved into the Bitcoin world, right? These futures that they're trading in ETFs. What if Dogecoin becomes the hot new crypto anti-Wall Street thing? Because they don't have the control of Dogecoin at the moment, but they can currently trade things around Bitcoin. And Ethereum is up next, Mike, if you hadn't not watching the news. So my point is, there's a whole
it always follows Bitcoin.
Right. There's a whole new interest that he could spark in this little corner of crypto called Doge, which is so cheap that anyone could get involved in it. That's 7 cents a token. It's interesting.
I mean, so
you're saying we should throw $500 at it?
This is not a crypto show, and I don't give advice, but I will say that if someone's going to push back against the moneyed financial interest, it's Elon Musk, and here's a way he could do that.
So do you feel that like he would want to build this hype up to a point where BlackRock chooses them as the next one to push all this paperwork to sell futures on?
No, I think this is a guy that likes to stick his finger in the eye of the system just to do it. Like, he's battling the SEC, right? So here he has the ability to move markets, if you will, for fun. Dogecoin,
but not Wall Street market.
But Wall Street is slowly taking control of Bitcoin, is my point. Doge could become what Bitcoin was, the pushback rebellion against finance, with Elon as the head guy.
Again, so like looking at the chess play here, 3 moves down the road, do you see that Wall Street is forced in a position to, push the paperwork through to become futures for Dogecoin?
I think Wall Street would push the paperwork through, as you put it, to become the futures for anything that the money is flowing into. Pork bellies included. Yeah, so
I don't know. I mean, would the SEC sign off on something so generic?
I mean, not right now, but ultimately, those guys, that's if it smells like money, they're on it. You know this.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, again, like, first of all, it's a lot of faith in a platform that everybody keeps claiming is failing.
Right. Well, I think I'm comfortable saying this on record. This platform is not going away. You don't have to like the people, but it's
not at the moment.
And honestly, Threads is good. It's actually gotten a little more traction lately if you guys are on it, but it still doesn't have the same technology bend that this one does. They're different personalities is all I'm saying.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
all
that's
right.
Definitely true. Can I just say something
Please.
then when you were talking before about just as a bit of an update on something that people might not know about, Reddit and the creator of the subreddit Wall Street Bets were in a legal battle recently about who owned the name Wall Street Bets. And long story short, Reddit won the argument in court because the guy who created it had not used Wall Street Bets' name in anything else that was not part of that platform prior to starting it. So this is another argument that we've talked about rented land, and he didn't even have the domain name before he started it. And there's a lot to be said for the fact that when you create a group or something like that on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, or Reddit, that you don't know it's going to be a success, so you wouldn't want to necessarily invest money in it. But at the end of the day, he lost the rights to the name Wall Street Bets through this legal case because he'd never used it anywhere else. So, that's something for people to think about in terms of the Wall Street or the going up against big boys, et cetera, not that Reddit is in Wall Street, but I just thought that linked nicely to what you said before.
As a content person in response, Wall Street Bets, if I remember right, had that like kid that looked like Donald Trump with the sunglasses and the blonde hair. You know what I'm talking about? For the logo? there was no merch sold on that? That guy didn't have a hat or anything? Because I feel like that was a bad, that's just lack of business chops. Because if you'd put some, you would have sold T-shirts on that just for in its own thing as a business.
Yeah,
Well,
but I think he started
like
to use it, and so Reddit sued him, basically.
Well, I mean, yeah, it sounds like it's a protection of IP rights. I mean, that's all it is.
Yes,
it's
right.
use case in the marketplace.
So, Michelle, to reiterate your point, I think it's a good one. I'm thinking about it. If you create any type of a handle on any of these platforms, you darn well better have some kind of merch or a logo or something that establishes it as yours and not just the platforms.
Before you go onto the platform.
Before you challenge the federal government.
You need to spend that $9.95 on registering the name on the internet before you start creating things, because
All right. Taking us to story number 2. We're moving this along. This is a coming out of variety.com. Mr. Beast, Jimmy Donaldson, is in talks for a TV show on Amazon Prime Video. Jimmy Donaldson is nearing a deal for a reality show on Amazon Prime. Title is not known, but it is going to be a competitive challenge show with large cash prizes, just like his channel, basically. Both Amazon and Mr. Beast officially declined comment. The deal is rumored to be for $100 million. So, Mike, we're going to start with you on this. What are your thoughts on, first of all, the internet YouTuber star galore is going on to, of all places, Amazon. And how about that price tag? Let's get some thoughts.
Well, first of all, I would assume this is an exclusive deal.
Yes.
Okay, so therefore his whole followership, his whole presence on YouTube is now null and void.
Is it though? I mean, that depends on the...
I'm asking. Like, he's not going to be posting new content there. The monetization on that channel is going to go down. Not for him necessarily, but more so for the demand of advertisers for Google. I guess the point I'm trying to get to is the one who must be pissed in this scenario is definitely Alphabet. And they're going to a competitor. Netflix might, also be, and we'll talk about them later in the show, but they feel like maybe they missed out on something like this. These streaming platforms are the new sitcoms that some of these, I guess, actors or influencers are looking to get that break with. Back in the day, if you're a comedian, you got a gig on a sitcom, that's how you made it. You're working for one of these big networks and you're on every Friday night at 7:00 on TGIF or whatever it is. Now it's, you've put in the work, you've monetized yourself, you built a career, you built a community and a followership. And now you just have one of these monster streamers come in and scoop you up for an exclusive deal. Now, is it going to be the same type of content as he's pumping out on YouTube? I doubt it. You already rattled off a couple things that the show's going to be about. I can't imagine that he would have the same flexibility as he does on his current program. And who knows if his content is going to suffer from that. These are all things that we'll have to wait and see. But again, Amazon came in, basically picked up the free agent. I doubt YouTube had him under contract, but now he is.
So, a quick response to that. I don't see any difference between this and, say, Kim Kardashian signing on with a shapewear company or a perfume company.
Well, it's a big difference. I mean, one is a brand trying to associate yourself with that particular individual. This is a platform where that individual can now build whatever or migrate whatever community he has from YouTube onto this. Now, I'm also, not naive to think that people who have YouTube and, potentially YouTube Premium also have an Amazon Prime account. So it's not like Amazon sales of Prime memberships are expected to skyrocket from this, but it's all about the advertising spend, right? Where are the advertisers now going to flock? Are they going to stick on YouTube because, they potentially spent money on his program there? Or are they going to look into opportunities on Amazon and have Amazon try to figure out a way to get an ROI using the ads?
Michelle, what are your thoughts on this?
So I think there's a couple of points. One is I think that Amazon do think that they're going to get some Prime Video subscriptions from it. I think that there is as you said, Mike, there is a difference between the types of people who might pay, $5 or whatever it is to get YouTube Premium or put up with the ads and watch his stuff for nothing. on YouTube. You won't be able to do that on Amazon Prime. I think that if it's going to be a weekly show, that's a huge commitment for him, like in terms of production and, you know, writing time, and he's going to be in meetings and all of that kind of stuff. If it's going to be like his Squid Game episode, you know, I think I read somewhere, don't quote me on it, but it took 100 hours or something to create that video. You know, like, he's not going to be able to do that. He's going to have to, you know, this Friday night the one goes on, and by next Friday he's going to have the next episode ready. So from that point of view, pretty big time commitment, I would think, for him. Now, ultimately, let's think about this. What does Mr. Beast want from this? I mean, he got $100 million, wasn't it, to go to YouTube? So does he need another $100 million? Well, probably not, but so it can't just be about the money. Sure, you know, we said when he went to YouTube, that set him up for life. So what? Well, he's not going to have two lives. So why does he need another $100 million, right? So what's in it for him? Does he want to be? I mean, I don't know what's the most famous game show host in the UK, in the US. I don't know, but you know, does he want to be? Does he want to be the Oprah of Amazon Prime games? Or,
this makes him a household name. Like yes, this moves him from your kids knowing him to you knowing him.
But isn't he already a relatively big household name anyway? Like, if you've got a kid in your house, you know who Mr. Beast is, even if you don't watch him.
But that's the thing right there. But you don't watch him. Like, you know who he is. I know who Oprah is, but do I watch her? You know, like you're going to build a fan base now of people that know who he is and now kind of like his antics.
Of course. And that's no, you know, like, I mean, that's not, I'm not sure that that's the point of what they're trying to do by bringing him there. What they want to do is they want to bring people who like his stuff to Amazon Prime, and they want to sell other Amazon Prime things to them. They want to recommend products and sell Amazon products, the links and the clicks and the, you know, all of that kind of stuff. This is a long tail for them. This isn't just about Jimmy Donaldson doing a weekly show on, you know, Squid Game, Antiky, Survivor type of, you know, show. This isn't what that's about, I don't think, but they're using him as the vehicle for the next jump that they want.
But how much does this actually piss off the community and the audience, right? And I'll use the NFL as an example, right? You know, how do you run a playoff game on a platform that most people don't have? You know, and you force people to subscribe to this platform in order to watch one game. They're locked in for a year. Their team loses, so they're pissed off right away. I mean, you know, it's just it's interesting to watch. Like, you know, networks used to battle for, you know, the remote control. Now we're battling for the streaming bill, right? Like, which ones do you subscribe to? Yeah. Do you subscribe to all of them? Then you could watch all of this stuff. If not, then, you know, you got to figure out another solution. But it's interesting to watch, you know, these guys bounce around from these platform to platform. You know, again, are they bringing their existing community with them, or are they trying to tap into a new one?
All right, I'm going to give us some context for all this. In 2020, there was a pandemic, for those who didn't know. And that kicks off the streaming wars. All of a sudden, with people trapped indoors, whatever country you were in, Australia, it suddenly becomes things that you can watch on television, right? So Disney Plus gets launched, Paramount, HBO, all these streaming companies are now going head to head. Netflix, who's the dominant player, decides to throw their money at things now. They're spending big money. Amazon is being left in the cold. They need the same. My point is, I have kids that would watch years ago all the famous YouTubers on television. Like, you'd go to a friend's house, they would just pipe the internet onto the TV in the background. And it was always going to be shows like Dude Perfect, or if you guys know Mark Rober, the NASA scientist that does these crazy experiments. And Mr. Beast, to be honest with you, was on there. My point is, the entertainment for the kids was coming off of YouTube and being piped to the TV. Netflix is just cutting out alphabet, as you say, Mike, and going right to the horse's mouth. That they can lock up Mr. Beast. I see what Amazon gets out of it. They have a new front in the war, if you will. What Mr. Beast gets out of it is honestly the king of all media. He becomes what Howard Stern tried to become back in the day. Everybody knows this guy, and not just knows of him, loves him. So that leverages into any kind of product he wants.
All right. So this is perfect timing.
I always have perfect timing. Oh, here we go. Hold on a second.
You made a tinfoil hat. I didn't make
I
a
did.
tinfoil
I don't have my.
hat.
It's not made of tinfoil, but go ahead. I'm all ears.
Wait,
What do you got?
How come he didn't send us one, Mark? That's what I want to know.
I made it 3 minutes before we went live. So
Let's tinfoil hat off. What do you got?
All right. So here's my prediction on how this all ends up. And this is why a guy like this cashing in at this point is going to be important. You know, we've seen in Hollywood, right, this the cinema scene of how quickly, you know, they ran out of ideas and they're repurposing old content in new digital formats and all these other things, right? You know, we've seen them remake Jurassic Park how many times now?
Rocky.
How soon before one of these streaming platforms leverages AI and comes out with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
Hold on, they already have that. I forgot the name of the show, but the Eternal Simpsons, the Never-Ending Simpsons. There's a Simpsons thing that it's AI generated nonstop episode. The episode itself never ends. It's on right now.
Okay, fine. But like a sellable series like this, that one of these streaming platforms can pick up, leverage a guy who's passed away that had a massive following for whatever in whatever era, tap into that same, you know, push that same button that would touch everybody's childhood and recreate that entire experience using AI. And at what point are they able to monetize off of that? Literally 100% profit. And how does that affect a guy like this who just signed this massive deal?
I don't understand where you're going with the tinfoil, though. You think that this is a play?
Well, I think that, you know, a scenario like this, Mr. Beast could potentially be that Mr. Rogers that I'm referencing 30 years from now.
Interesting.
And that could be part of the deal, right? That could be part of the exclusive content that now Amazon has the right to make utilizing things like AI.
I think this is he made a huge amount of money off Feastables, his chocolate, and he realized it's his fame that is doing that. He's not his chocolate expertise, that's for sure. So his recognition of I can use this fame, if you will, as a platform, and the bigger you grow the fame, the more products that you can do. Gary Vaynerchuk has done a good job of this. So I feel like he's just going for fame because it's the platform, the business platform.
But he could be on any platform and gain that.
He has done that already on the digital platforms. He has not done on the traditional media.
Okay, so wait a minute. Now Amazon Prime is traditional media?
Well, in terms of it's as traditional as you're going to get. You're right. I mean, it's not linear TV. It's not channel ABC.
No, I mean, I would put it almost on par as YouTube. You could watch Prime on the same channels you watch YouTube. You pull up the internet, you log in, and you're good to go. Right?
I agree. Yeah, it's a set top. It's OTT. It's over the top set top boxes. But
yeah, so I guess like my whole rant here and an excuse to show off my hat was to basically just explain that maybe some of these exclusivity monster deals that these guys have some sort of a parachute on the back end where these platforms now own the rights in order to generate their own content in that guy's likeness.
So two things. On the back of the Hollywood writer's strike in America, that was the big argument that they can't just take AI and replace these folks. I think
why would Prime care about that deal?
No, I know, but I think that Mr. Beast is savvy enough and aware of the issue. It's been out now that I'd be surprised if he did not own rights on this.
I'm not suggesting he doesn't. I'm sure there's a tail at some point, but all I'm suggesting is that when this contract is up, there will be certain times when Amazon can replay that content or even generate their own content utilizing that likeness.
Yeah, they're still running I Love Lucy episodes, right? You're right.
And again, the way that we're evolving with this AI trend now, I mean, you're going to be talking about I Love Lucy in color, you know, I Love Lucy in the 20th century, you know, like there's going to be a few different remakes of these types of things because, again, creativity is out the window where all we do is repurpose things that we know worked in the past. And, you know, I feel like a deal like this, I would almost want that as part of a deal if I was one of these major streaming platforms.
Did you know there's only 79 episodes of the original Star Trek ever made? They're on all the time.
All 79 of them. I mean, I think some of the backlash for this will be, I mean, as we know, a lot of the platforms and a lot of the big companies have been, you know, laying people off this year. So like 35% of their workforce got laid off in the last 12 months, but they're going to give Mr. Beast $100 million. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that point of view. It's not a great look. Will it matter? Probably not, but it's not a great look, is it?
Do you think Jeffy B, who came from a hedge fund, cares about that?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
All right, I'm taking us to story number 3. Netflix strikes a $5 billion live streaming deal with the WWE. Netflix has signed a 10-year deal with the World Wrestling Entertainment. They will be airing their big landmark show Monday Night Raw. It will be live streamed weekly. It's a wrestling program. And this moves from linear television, where it's been for 31 years. The deal is valued at more than $5 billion, officially beginning next January. This agreement obviously represents a huge investment in live streaming by Netflix. What do we think about this? Mike, we'll start with you.
I was going to say start with me. Ooh,
Michelle, let's go to you.
My favorite's coming to Netflix.
Go for it.
American wrestling. I was trying to spare you, but okay, let's go for it.
No, that's right. That was my sarcastic comment. Ooh, goody, my favorite is coming to Netflix. Yeah, no, Mike, go.
No, go for it. Go for it. I mean, I didn't realize you were such a wrestling fan, but
$5 billion, by the way, folks, that dwarfs $100 million that Amazon's paying Mr. Beast.
yeah,
that's billion with a B.
Yeah, really.
Interesting is the word I used, and not in the way when you tell someone what they just told you was interesting because you're not really too sure about them, but actually this is like, that is interesting. Live TV to Netflix is a new thing. So, we know that they have done a few deals and stuff in the past couple of years that haven't turned out well. Harry and Meghan is one of them that just comes off the top of my head. And so that they spent a lot of money on and it didn't kind of really work. A la Spotify as well, when we were talking about them with the big deals that they had, and that hasn't actually turned into revenue or money. So they're, everyone's laying people off because of it. But something like this puts Netflix in a new category, doesn't it? Because it puts them in a network category. It puts them in a prime time, live to air. Whereas before, all we would do is we would pick the shows that we want to watch, and other than the fact that until they're released you can't watch them, you can watch them at your leisure anytime you like. This is basically, if you want to see it live, you're going to have to turn up at on the Monday or whatever it is at 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. to be able to watch it. I mean, obviously they'll have the shows on for you to watch replays and whatever, all of that stuff. But it moves them from just being a streaming platform to being a network. And I think that that's a big deal.
I agree with you, Michelle. Those are good insights. Mike, what do you think about this? Is this going? First of all, does it even matter? Is this going to, or is this a game? Or do you think this is actually what Michelle is saying? It's a whole new thing.
Well, I mean, you want to talk about kings of media, and we praise Elon all the time, right? But I mean, I don't think any of them can hold a candle to what Vince McMahon has done in his career. I mean, you're talking about decades and decades and decades of just consistency and growth, and the ability to create such an enormous followership, and have that value bounce around from things like TNT and Turner Broadcast System, and having that streamed even in prime time on some pay-per-view channels, to now having it be signing this ridiculous deal with one of these streamers. I don't think this hurts their audience in any way. Obviously, it's just a business decision, and again, a hell of a one from Vince. There's a tremendous amount of value in the brand that he's built here. But from Netflix perspective, it's going to be interesting to see what type of collaborations that they start drumming up here. And I think at some point, and I could be thinking a little bit too down the road on this, but at some point, some of these network cable TV channels or stations, they have to consider incorporating Netflix, or at least some channels on Netflix, as part of their cable package, and figure out a way to introduce that. And maybe they strike a deal with Netflix where they charge these stations $5 a month. They turn around and charge their customer $7 a month as opposed to the 15 that Netflix traditionally charges. But I guess, WWE is such a global entertainment activity or, sport or program. Netflix is not the same in every country, right? Like there's specific, there's Netflix shows
that's correct.
that appear in Canada that don't appear here and vice versa. So it's going to be interesting to see what that does to more of a global audience. Is this a global deal that Netflix everywhere has to put on their particular platforms? What does that do for advertising? I'm sure there's a lot of T's that had to get crossed and I's dotted and, with respect to the logistics behind the contract. But I think if they figure that out, I mean, this is no different from a cryptocurrency that's essentially without borders, right? You're talking about a platform that is no longer bound by cable television or, some of the restrictions that go with that.
I've got some thoughts around. Let's go, Michelle.
I was just going to say that, yes, they are saying that it will be the US, Canada, UK, Latin America, and some other territories and other regions and countries later. So it will only be basically those main 4 to start. And I think the other thing to point out as well, because people wouldn't have necessarily read the article by now, is that it is only for this show. Like the SmackDown show and the WrestleMania and the other parts of the franchise are not included in this. It's only this Monday Night Raw. And see, like I talk like I actually know what I'm talking about, but I don't.
It's definitely one of their bigger programs, right? It's the most
their
consistent
weekly
one.
Soap opera is what it is.
Well, it starts off. I mean, a lot of the bigger events, like the story begins on this particular show. And I'm talking like I know about it too. Like I stopped being a fan when I was in 2nd grade. But I have friends to this day, 40 years old, who actually still watch it religiously. They just
are these the ones where they get the chair and pretend to bang them, and is that
yes.
kind of stuff? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, again, I don't discredit the athleticism and the durability and stamina it takes to do any of that, because it's insane. But, it is scripted content, right? It's nothing more than a television program. Compare that to what we just covered, $100 million for Mr. Beast, who, is set for life and does all these things. And now he's nice, comfy contract with Amazon Prime versus $5 billion for what Vince McMahon has brought to the table just with a sliver of his overall product.
For the record, Feastables is valued at $50 million alone, just that one company. So Mr. Beast is not doing it just for a comfy little. He's not playing it for the money.
Well,
I don't.
Then maybe he should have held out for a couple billion.
So I want to tackle this here though for the Netflix WWE. There's 2 points I want to make. Number one is the financial. Netflix makes about $30 billion a year, but they only net about $5 billion a year. So they are banking a year's worth of income for the company on this thing. Now it's a 10-year deal, so it's stretched out, but it's a big bet is my point. If this goes sideways for them, they're going to be in real financial trouble. Number 2, this is the streaming wars. This is they're banking the company on winning the streaming wars with a move like this. And what I mean by that is in the streaming wars, Disney Plus hasn't had a big hit show in a while. Let's say I'm a big Mandalorian fan, which I am. I'm paying $15 a month to watch it. Mando 4 hasn't been on, they're still working on it. I think in the back of my head, I'll just cancel it and come back on again when the time comes. Disney has a problem with that. You can't do that with live, right? If you want to go watch the Mike
that's
Tyson
what I was
fight,
going to say. Yeah.
Right. And this is what the cable companies did when they would have a big boxing match, right? Or Conor McGregor. This is what the one thing in the streaming wars that you can't get around is a live event. People pay for that because they want to see it live. People still go to the Super Bowl, even though you have better viewing on TV. We talked about this a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
There's live events on streaming all the time.
Not at the level of the WWE.
Dude, they stream football games. They stream sporting events like the Super Bowl. They've got
the Premier League now on Amazon Prime.
When ABBA does their concert, right, and that's going to be an event, and I know the point is this is a episodic content, right? It's going to keep me coming back.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like once, when the new season of The Crown's released and I've watched it. Now, I might watch it again in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, but unless there's other stuff on Netflix, I'm not necessarily keeping my subscription. But if I like watching Monday Night Raw, I'm going to have to keep it every week because it's
love Monday
live
Night
every
Raw.
week on Netflix. Look, we're going to have to review it on a Wednesday when it starts on the Monday.
I mean, I wouldn't really predict that a lot of people are canceling their subscriptions after watching, one series. I feel like
Mike,
it's just
people
one of
are in
those
trouble
utilities.
financially. There's a recession going on.
I get it, but do you know how many people watch WWE? You know how many people watch like just sports regularly? I mean, the fact, again, this is what I brought up earlier. You're going to be pissed that you have to figure out a way to get on this new platform if you don't already have it. Now, I think Netflix is, long enough in the marketplace that most people who would watch WWE actually, already have a Netflix account, so it won't be that impactful. But, I'll reference, just a couple weeks ago with football. I mean, the Miami Dolphins played the Kansas City Chiefs on Peacock, and, you needed a Peacock subscription in order to watch that game. And, I think they had a record-setting amount of signups that one night from Miami because nobody had it down here. And now people are stuck with that for a year. And, they signed up to watch their team get their ass kicked. And now what? Now you just have another streaming platform on your books for a year?
So frequently in the States, Michelle, they'll have a Premier League football game that gets aired, but you have to go to a pub here to watch it because no one has.
Yeah.
And that these pubs pay for that. Like the bars in New York are making money off of this. I'm sure it's the same in London.
It was the same thing with pay-per-views. You would go out and you would watch a fight at a bar because that they got it, whether it was through DirecTV, Dish, whatever.
You're not going to pay the money for the $150 to sign up for the thing.
Correct.
Anyway, my point is Netflix can lock that down right now. I don't know that I would have bet on Vince McMahon, but it is a proven, it's a proven franchise. And this is because of the streaming wars. This is going to be going up against Mr. Beast, right? This is their foray.
If there was one person to bet on, 100%, it would be McMahon. I can't think of, maybe earlier on.
Is he still running the company? Isn't his daughter now?
It doesn't matter. He still has his fingerprints on it, and it's still the brand that he built. I mean, the reason that $5 billion price tag is there it has nothing to do with anybody other than him and his dad, but like mostly him. And we're not just talking about like an overnight success story here. We're talking about dating back to the 70s and the 80s. Like, this has been around forever.
Right.
I can remember my grandfather watching it on a Sunday morning. When I was like in the 70s, I probably would have been 6 or 7 years old thinking, what on earth is this?
Yeah.
He loved
it. Taps into a crazy audience that just can't let go. It's the days of our lives of crazy nut.
Yeah.
Nut
I was going to
job.
say that before. They're the days of our lives of.
All right. So I want to touch on a follow-up story before we're going to wrap this early today. A few weeks ago, there was a piece in the news about Sports Illustrated. For those who weren't listening at the time, Sports Illustrated had used a bunch of AI-generated articles. They used fake AI avatars as the authors of these articles. And then when they were confronted with this by a third party, they swept it under the rug and basically said that, there was nothing really to see here. In the end,
nothing to see here.
Right. They're laying off the entire staff at Sports Illustrated. It's a sad story, really. And having been at Lehman Brothers when they went under, I feel for the employees because it's not their fault. But this comes down to a story of basically not being open and honest about your use of AI. And so at the time we reported on this, I want to say it was the day of or the day after. The question was whether this was an honest mistake or if this was really a scandal. I think we can call it a scandal at this point. As wrap-up thoughts on that, and more importantly, what this means for media companies going forward who do use AI for content generation, ideation, etc. What are your guys' thoughts on this? I mean, we all come from the creator economy back in the day. Michelle, I'll start with you as the content marketing queen. What do you think of the story, and what do you think of the implications going forward?
Like, what a way to trash a brand that has had an incredible name for such a long time. Like, I mean, whether you like the pictures of the girls in swimsuits or not, the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition has launched careers of some of the most famous top models in the world, and everyone wanted to buy that issue. And it got lots of loyal subscribers on the, weekly basis. It went from weekly to bi-weekly to monthly. And now, like, it might not be around in the next few months. It's it's a tragedy, I think, and it's one of these things where, I hate to say it, Mark, but big corporate finance investor types buy these publications thinking they can make a quick buck on it or spin it off or whatever, and they just ruin these sorts of things because they don't actually care about what's produced necessarily. They just want to know what they can get out of it.
But they were being pressed by the AI onset, don't you think? I'm not defending them. And
you can't defend a scandal, and that's exactly what it was.
But if they didn't have to use AI, no one was actually forcing them. They're still selling magazines. They still have a really good reputation until 4 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, they were an established brand, but to Mike's point back a few weeks ago, they weren't exactly like the forefront cutting edge of sports news.
I mean, look at the evolution of this type of media, particularly when it comes to sports. You can get updates on your watch now on what the score is. You don't have to sit there and wait for somebody in Sports Illustrated to pump out an article on, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa doing a home run contest. But, for 100%.
Go on, sorry.
Rebut.
What I was going to say was that what they needed to do was evolve what they wrote about. There are still incredibly interesting backstories of sports stars that they could write about every month, that people would buy it for if you use fantastic images. It's like the Vogue magazine. It could be, or could have been, continued to be the Vogue magazine of sports.
I disagree. I mean, I feel like they've evolved to become that shoe repairman in town, right? So, ultimately, like, their services are no longer required because you have things like ESPN 20 for 20. This is where those stories are now told. You have TikTok that can, get some of these models, asses in front of people and, obviously build a name for themselves that way. The prestige that was once involved with this particular magazine is gone. I mean, similar to what Playboy went through when they filed for bankruptcy.
But there's a lesson here, Mike. There's a content creator lesson here. And I would argue that the AI generation thing, which happens to be what hooked them up here, and that was their downfall, that's going to be a problem.
Maybe that was the straw that just broke the camel's back.
I think it's going to be an ongoing issue for these big companies.
I don't disagree, but I don't think that generating AI content was the problem. I think that creating the scandal behind it was the bigger problem. Creating fake accounts of people who work there and fake bios and trying to humanize the AI component of it. All right. So, like, I'll give you an example. On my website, I'm now pumping out a weekly post that is 100% entirely generated by AI. But I'm owning the fact that there's an AI bot that writes it. It's just basically picking a topic and AI just runs away with whatever that topic is. If they did that, I don't see it being a problem. In fact, I would see them getting more recognition that way. The fact that they're incorporating sports with this new form of technology and having this AI component analyze it. But no, you have to explain that Bill, this AI avatar, enjoys long walks on the beach.
I'm going to actually tie this into the big our theme of the day here. Do you guys remember Aitana? She's the fake Spanish Instagram model that they created. She's like a hottie that doesn't really exist. Makes $11,000 a day. This person. Anyway, if you go back to what Mr. Beast, right? Mr. Beast on Amazon and WWE on Netflix, billions and hundreds of millions. Why wouldn't you just create an episodic show about a fake hot influencer who's, I don't know, the Tyra Banks of the internet? You don't have to pay her anything, and you can now take on the streaming wars in that regard. So there's an angle here of AI creation competing with all entertainment, and I think that if you handle it right, you can make money, and if you handle it wrong, you're going out of business. It's a really interesting time.
It needs to be a tool, a component of the business, not a replacement. And I think that's where Sports Illustrated, crossed that line, and we see what happened now.
I also think the second lesson is the ability to affirm that you are not using AI. I'm an AI guy, just like everyone else here, but I think that there's going to be an argument to be made. You have to be clean about when you're using it and when you're not, and where you use it. But
again, that's a message that I feel is very powerful to own, right? You
Right.
are incorporating this technology. If you try to hide the fact that you are, that's worse off. But if
Right.
you own the fact that you are, that's a different story to
100%.
tell. And you can
All right.
own that, especially in something like an analytical field like sports.
To wrap this up on a happy note. Oh, please, Michelle.
I think, though, that after 70 years of a magazine being really successful, it's really quite sad.
Yeah. The Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, which you mentioned, Michelle, was the most successful of all their products, for sure, by far. Launched the career of supermodels, as you say. So the trivia question, I'll leave the gang here. Which supermodel graced the most covers of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition? Mike.
Oh, Mark's gone, or is it my
I
internet?
disappeared.
Are
What
you
was
still
the
there,
trivia
Mark?
question?
What swimsuit
Oh, hang on,
edition
the
model?
internet went. Yeah. Go
Which
on.
swimsuit model has been on the most covers of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue?
Cindy Crawford.
Good answer. But
Tyra
wrong.
Banks.
Both of you are incorrect. I would have gone with Tyra Banks too. Elle McPherson, 5 covers. She holds the record. So, that being said, this is the
I
weekly
didn't actually hear that. The internet went funny. Who is it?
Elle McPherson.
Oh,
And
no, it's McPherson.
Oh, sorry. I'm American. She's Australian though,
Elle McPherson.
So you got that going for you. I will say this though. When I was younger, I always found it very attractive. I think I'm okay with that trivia fact, but I would have gone with the Tyra Banks personally. All right. This is your weekly insight into the digital media revolution. We come to you every week on Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Eastern, which is in debate right now these days, folks. We want to give a shout out to the Bolt Nation crew for the support. We appreciate it. As always, we're on YouTube and, of course, on LinkedIn. Anyone has any questions, drop them in. YouTube is probably the best place to find us, Business on the Block. And we'll be back next week. Any final comments from you two?
Netflix, we're taking offers.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Good luck. Have a good one.